Hi all, good afternoon. I'm Annette Matthew and I welcome you all to this live session that is on soil and nutrition in gardening. And this session is brought to you by Nursery Live, your friend in need for all your gardening needs. So let's get started. Okay, so soil is extremely important for gardening, and the quality that your soil is will tell you how good your plant will be and how good your plant will do. So it is very important that the quality of the soil be excellent. Okay, so why do plants need soil? They absorb nutrients from the soil, they also absorb air and water from the soil, and the soil gives them support. The soil also creates a perfect environment for them, and the right temperature, and all that benefits the plant greatly. So what you have to do is you have to ensure that your soil is excellent for your plant, and that is what we will hopefully try to learn in this session today. Okay, so there are different types of soil that you get depending on the area that you live in. Some soil is sandy soil, some soil is loamy soil, and some is chalky soil with a high alkaline nature because it has a lot of calcium in it. So that all doesn't matter, because we can amend our soil by adding different mediums to it. So that is always there. And the best kind of soil that will be available to you is the loamy kind. Now what is loam soil? Loam soil is 40% sand, 40% silt and 20% clay. So it is the right kind of soil for most plants, and if you have that kind of soil, excellent, your plants will thrive and will be happy. More or less all plants love this kind of soil. Okay, so the next thing that I want to tell you is that when you are using these different soils in a combination, when you are using different mediums to make your soil better, what happens to your soil is it is more aerated, there's more air inside the soil, it is well draining, the water doesn't sit in the soil and the soil doesn't remain wet for very long, it drains out very fast, and it is very good for plants that don't like too much water around their roots. So these benefits of the soil being great are many, and we will also, as we move into the session further, we will get to know the different mediums that will amend your soil better. Okay, so now when you use good soil for your plants, there is one more important thing that happens. Your plants are stronger, they are more resilient, they are not affected by diseases and pests as easily as an unhealthy plant would. So I can't stress on how important soil is for your plant's needs. So understanding this concept is very important, and being able to make the perfect soil mixes for your plants also is excellent. Okay, so now we move on to the best potting mixes for your plants. Now we have a different variety of plants. There are different number of plants, and every plant has different needs. Some plants need more water, some plants need very less water, they hate water around their roots, like succulents and cacti. So the potting mix for succulents and cacti will be a well draining potting mix that will dry out very fast, and that won't hold water, that won't retain water for too long, because these plants already have the ability to hold water in their leaves, in their stem, in their roots. So tuberous plants and such plants do not need soil mixes that will retain lot of water, that will hold lot of water. But there are some plants like the peace lily and the many phytonias and such plants that love water, they need water. And for such plants, even ferns I would add into that category, and most humidity loving plants, calatheas as well. So these plants need more water, and they would love it if their soil would hold moisture for longer. So for such plants, we need to mix in and make moisture retaining mixes. So make a mix according to the need of your plant, understand the need of your plant, and make a mix according to the need of your plant. So if you have a succulent, you make a well draining mix. If you have a calathea, you make a moisture retaining mix. That is what you need to understand. Okay, so Also, when we in India, we mostly have a lot of clay soil available in our nurseries. So this clay soil, some plants do well in clay soil, like your curry leaves and your canna lilies, and some plants like that do well in clay soil. Some plants do well in coco peat only. So there are many plants that have different diverse needs. We just need to understand what they need and give them what they need. Now, all plants will not do well in your garden soil. You may have, you can't just go out, dig up the earth and bring in the soil and put it in your pots. That may not work always for two reasons, for two main reasons, is that it may not have all the nutrients that your plants need, and also clay soil can be very compacting. It can cake up and it can compact around the roots, which may not be good for all plants that need a lot of aeration around their roots. Especially your delicate house plants need special kind of soil. So avoid potting them in clay soil only. And now we will move on to talking about the amendments for your soil. What are amendments? Basically, they are mediums or materials that you get which is not soil, but when you mix it with your soil, it makes your soil better, it makes your soil moisture retaining or well draining. It gives it these extra properties that make it much better. So we will move on to that section right now. Okay. So I will just turn the camera down so that I can show you these mediums as I speak about them. Okay. Okay. Okay, so I hope you can see this. This is coco peat. Okay, this is the first medium that we will talk about. Coco peat is derived from coconut husk. Okay, so now what you have to keep in mind is when you're buying coco peat, buy coco peat that has low EC in it. What is EC? EC is simply an abbreviation for electrical conductivity. It is a measure of the soluble salts that are in this substrate, in this coco peat. Okay, so if there are too many salts, then the plant is not able to uptake water, and it restricts the plant. The plant faces a physiological drought. So if EC is too high, so you have to be careful and buy coco peat that has low EC. It will be mentioned on the pack of the coco peat that you are buying, so always look for that, which is really good. Now coco peat is very absorbent and it holds moisture for longer. So if I pour some water in it, you will see that the coco peat expands as it absorbs all the water. You will see that the color changes, and if I leave it like this, the color of the coco peat will become darker and it will increase in size because it has absorbed all the water. So this medium holds water for a longer time and is excellent to put into your soil to increase the water retention ability of your soil. Okay, also the particles are big and it breaks down clay soil. Clay soil particles are extremely small in comparison. I will show you. I have clay soil right here and you can see the particles of clay soil. It's really very small as compared to the particles of coco peat. So when coco peat and vermicompost is added into clay soil, it breaks down the clay soil and it helps the soil not to compact. So this is perfect for breaking down clay soil. Okay, now the pH it's on the acidic side, which is 5.9 to 6.5, and when water goes in, up to 6 times, which is great, and it is a very good and easy to use material. So, and it's very easily available also. So this is a good to add material in your various soil mixes. Okay, so now let's move on to the next one. Here we have perlite. Okay, so I just clean my hands up. This is perlite. Now this medium is another very interesting medium. Now what is perlite? It is mined from volcanic rock, okay, and it is heated suddenly, and when it is heated it expands to many times and it's from its original volume, and it expands greatly and it becomes extremely porous. You can see in my hand how light it's practically flying off with the breeze. So it is extremely light, and it is always a good idea when you're using perlite to wet it a little, okay, to dampen it, because it's got a lot of dust in it. When you inhale this dust, it might irritate your lungs. So it's always a good idea to spray it down or dampen it a bit and use it then, okay. So this is perlite. Now what does perlite do for our soil? It absorbs a little bit of water, but it doesn't retain much water, okay. It's porous. It increases the aeration, as in it's got a lot of these tiny holes in it, which allows the water and the air to flow in through the substrate, and it improves the aeration in your soil. So if there are roots that need a lot of air around it, this medium is excellent to use, okay. It also in soil, so the water doesn't retain too much in the soil. If you're using perlite for succulents and cacti, they will be extremely happy. It's a good thing to use them for succulents and cacti. So know which medium will be best for your particular plant, and plants that don't like water will love perlite because the soil becomes well draining and it aerates the soil as well, okay. It also combats compaction and caking of soil. Now be very careful that you don't mix perlite and soil directly. Only perlite and soil will not work, especially because of the way the particle density is. This is having a very low density, okay. And what will happen if you just mix these two things? When you water your plants, the perlite will all come to the surface of your plant, and it will be useless. It will be a waste of your money. So if you want to mix in clay soil with your perlite, you also have to add in things like compost and coco peat, which will properly break down the clay soil, and then you can add in perlite if you want, okay. So this is all we have to say about perlite. Now let's move on to the next medium. The next medium is vermiculite, okay. Now this mineral vermiculite is hydrated aluminium, iron, magnesium silicate, which when heated expands greatly again, just like perlite, and it has this flaky kind of appearance. It's got this shiny feel, okay. It's got a golden brown color, and again it is pretty lightweight. As you can see, it's lightweight, okay. This is how it is. Now again, when you use vermiculite, it's got a lot of dust, so it's always good to spray it down a little, wet it a little, so that the dust, you don't end up inhaling the dust. So this is better to use it like this, wet it a little, okay. It's got a neutral pH, which is a 7.0, and the main important quality of vermiculite is that it is absorbent. You must have seen how quickly it soaked up the water, and it soaks up water very well. So for moisture retaining plants, this is excellent, okay. You can also use it for your seed starters. Now you have seeds. If you're starting seeds, if you put a little bit of vermiculite on the top of your seed pots, the vermiculite will absorb water, and because it's inert and it is it doesn't have any kind of organic things on it, it can also combat fungus gnats and growth of fungus, especially with your new seedlings and new starters. So this is vermiculite. Again, it also adds to aeration. It also adds to it breaks up the soil to a certain extent, but definitely not like perlite. Though many times these two mediums are spoken about interchangeably, they are extremely different, and vermiculite is the more absorbent one. Perlite doesn't hold water like vermiculite, and they are extremely different, and they have two different purposes, okay. So this is vermiculite and perlite for you. Okay, now we move on to the next one, which is a very essential element in soil. So this is vermicompost. Now vermicompost is very beneficial because it is full of nutrients, okay, and it adds nutrients to your soil. It makes your soil nutrient rich. So all the missing elements are added through vermicompost. Basically, what is vermicompost? Vermicompost is made, it's worm castings, okay. and there is a lot of microbial activity going on here, and it makes your soil very rich and very beneficial for your plants. Okay, it also improves the water holding capacity of plants, and the castings are also rich in humic acid, which helps the soil pH to be balanced, and it's really good. There is good plant growth and good yield because of this, and the structure of the plant is fuller, and it enriches the soil with a lot of microorganisms. Okay, so vermicompost is extremely beneficial, and I would say you must add it to your potting mixes because it's absolutely safe, it's organic, and it is very beneficial for your plants. Okay, so now we will move on to the next okay. Now this is where I will show you quickly how to mix up these elements to make a soil mix that will help your plant, that will be good for most plants, and most plants will love this kind of soil mix. Okay, now what do these mediums help to do to your soil is, it makes your soil well draining and aerated, it makes your soil moisture retaining, and also rich in nutrients. So these are the three benefits of adding these things to your soil. So first, if I put 1 part clay soil, okay, I put 1 part clay soil. This is recycled clay soil. If you're recycling clay soil, you can always heat it up in the microwave oven, so that all the pest eggs or anything like that is there can die away. So that is a good thing to do if you're recycling your clay soil. Then I add in 1 part vermicompost, okay, to this. Now vermicompost is the most important thing that helps break down clay soil. The particles of clay soil are extremely small and it will compact around your roots. But when you add vermicompost, it completely breaks it down. So I've added equal parts. It's made the soil more richer, and it has also broken down the clay soil. Okay, so this is beneficial in breaking down your clay soil, and it will not compact. Okay, so this is how you mix it. Now it's very important that you mix your soil thoroughly. So as you add 1-1 medium, just give it a good mix. It would be better if you wear gloves. I don't have gloves handy, so I'm right now not using them. But yeah, so just mix it up very well. Then, as you know, I have already wet this coco peat a bit. I didn't wet it enough, but if you can wet your coco peat, it's better. Just dampen it a little so that it has absorbed water, and then you can add 1 part coco peat as well. Now this mix that I'm making will be good for humidity loving plants. They will like the kind of humidity and moisture this soil will retain. Okay, so this is how I mix it up. You give it a good mix after you put every, and if you have lumps like this, just try to break it down, especially the coco peat and all, and give it a good mix. So you can see how the texture of the soil is improving. Okay, it's getting better and better, and plants are going to love this kind of soil. Now I have this one more thing right here, one more medium right here, which is river sand. Please do not ever use sea sand, because sea sand is will have salts in it which will harm your plant. Always only if you can get your hands on river sand. This is not very easily available, but if you can get, you can always add this. This is optional, okay, because it's not very easily available in our societies. So this is river sand. I add a little bit of river sand, 1/2 part river sand, depending on how much I have, just to break this up further. You can see already that the soil is looking much better. Okay, now these vermiculite and perlite are optional. Okay, you don't need to put an entire cup. You can use a little bit according to how much you need, according to the plant that you are putting in the soil. So here I will add 1 part, 1/2 part perlite. I'll mix it up. This will now further break up the soil. These are bigger particles. This will allow good aeration in the soil. So perlite, I've added 1 part. Excellent for aeration. And if you want to increase the moisture retaining ability of your soil, you can add, I'm going to add lesser vermiculite, okay, half of this. So that's it. Because I've already added quite a lot of coco peat and the soil is already very moisture retaining. And here goes, I have added my vermiculite as well. So now I give it a good mix, and the soil that I have is a very good, loamy, great, nutrition rich soil which most of my plants will love. I'm sure they will love and thrive in such a soil if you make this kind of mix for them. Okay, so this is how you mix your soil and how you make a good moisture retaining soil. Okay, just give me a minute guys to clean my hands up. Give me the new okay, so please excuse the mess because we're talking about soil. There is a lot of mess. Now let's talk about nutrition, and I have a few fertilizers right here. So I will just open. Before we get on with talking about fertilizers, I'll get back to you all. Okay. Okay. Please excuse my muddy hands because it'll take a lot of time for me to go and wash them off and all that. So we'll just continue with the session and we'll talk about nutrition now. Just having your soil in your pot, the vermicompost has already added a lot of nutrition value, nutrient value to your soil. But the thing is that eventually, in containers especially, you will need to refertilize your plants again. You will have to fertilize them, and nutrients are extremely important for your plants. Now there are two types of nutrients that your plants need. Mainly there are macronutrients. Okay, there are few macronutrients like nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus, sulfur, calcium, magnesium. Okay, these are the macronutrients that your soil needs. Now macronutrients are in soil in larger quantities, that's why they're called macronutrients, and the plants need it in larger quantities. We also have a lot of micronutrients. Okay, and the micronutrients are needed in lower qualities, smaller quantities, excuse me please. So iron, magnesium, boron and the likes, these are micronutrients which are again very important and essential for your plants. When these nutrients go missing in the soil, when they drain out or when they are washed out from the soil, your plants will start showing certain deficiencies in the leaves. The color might go pale, especially with nitrogen deficiencies. The leaf color might go pale and it might look dull. So it's important to fertilize your plants all the time. Okay, so let's talk about the NPK now. If you have seen packets like this, okay, you can see this is the NPK that you must have seen on packets, your fertilizer packets. So it says NPK and there's a number underneath it. It says 19, 19, 19. I'm not sure if it's visible in the camera, but this is how fertilizers come. So many of you might be confused about what this NPK means and what it is about. Okay, so NPK stands for nitrogen, for phosphorus and potassium. Now these three macronutrients are essential mainly in your plants, and these fertilizers replace that. So when the number stands for the percentage of the volume of that particular nutrient, so now if it's 19, 19, 19, it means N 19 nitrogen, P 19 phosphorus, K 19 potassium, and the remaining is the filler that they will use. Either liquid fertilizers will have some water or some kind of filler, and that's how your fertilizer is made. Many fertilizers also have micronutrients like boron and iron and all those things. So look for fertilizers that are good, that are complete, that will give you all your will cater to all your needs of your plant. Okay, so it's very important. Now I will tell you one thing quickly is, one second, I'll just show you a few fertilizers. Okay, so here I have just one kind of fertilizer right now. This is a granular form, okay, and I have vermicompost. I showed you vermicompost. It's outside one second. So these fertilizers, now I will quickly tell you what nitrogen does. Okay, nitrogen is largely responsible for the leaves of your plant, for the foliage, for the good growth of the leaves on your plant. Phosphorus is very good, responsible for root growth and flower development. Potassium is a whole overall fertilizer that helps the plant perform overall in a good manner to uptake nitrogen. Potassium is needed for all these things. If you research further, you will find great uses of these nutrients. Now I will also show you vermicompost is right here. I showed you that before. This is a granular form. You get liquid forms, you get tablet forms, and you get many different forms. Okay, so now what we will do is I will show you how I will fertilize my plant very quickly. I have this tiny little spade. I have a small plant because it's for ease of showing you. What I generally do is just dig up the soil a bit and loosen it up at the top, not very deep, just loosen it up. Be very careful that you don't damage the plant. There's a new shoot coming right here. I'm going to leave that alone. So on this side, I'm going to just loosen up the soil, okay, and then I'm going to apply my fertilizer, okay. I'm going to just apply my fertilizer in a circular way like this, okay, around the plant. I won't go here because there's a new shoot. Vermicompost is safe, it's organic. It's great to use organic fertilizers because they are excellent for your plants, and they're safe for you even at home for your veggies and all that. You can use organic fertilizers, okay. And in addition to releasing nutrients, organic fertilizers also break down and they improve the structure of the soil. They increase the ability of the soil to hold water and nutrients, and over time organic fertilizers will make your soil and plants really healthy and strong. So it's always good to use organic fertilizers. So this is the way we fertilize our plants, okay. And always remember to read the packet for instructions. If you have a packet like this, they will have a lot of instructions, so always read those instructions and understand them before you before you fertilize your plants, because every fertilizer has a different set of instructions. So this is a good thing to do, a good habit to follow, okay. Okay, so just let me take a sip of water. Now all the materials that you require to make your perfect soil mix are available on Nursery Live. You will find them there. You can get ready-made potting mixes there as well. You can get a lot of organic plant fertilizers as well on Nursery Live. You can go there and check out their site. If you have not heard of them, they do deliver plants and everything plant related all across India. So definitely go and check them out, and definitely start making your own potting mixes that will really be beneficial for your plants. Okay, I hope this session has really helped you all and answered a few questions, and I hope you all have enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow Nursery Live on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram as well. And when you do click pictures of your garden and whatever you are doing in your garden, don't forget to tag them. It'll be a great joy for us to see all your beautiful gardens and your beautiful gardening activities as well. Okay, until then, keep on planting happiness. I'll just take a few questions because we don't have too much time. Let me just sorry. What kind of soil is required for succulents, Vibhuti? Soil that will drain out very quickly and that will not hold moisture. So use a lot of perlite, lot of sand, and these mediums, mix them up well. Use very less coco peat. Use very less vermiculite, because these mediums retain a lot of moisture and they will rot the root of your succulent. Succulents already store water in their leaves. Okay. Okay. can you grow neem tree in a pot? Yes, you can grow neem tree in a pot, but it won't grow to its full potential. It won't be as big and as bountiful as it would be planted in the ground. In a container, everything is restricted to the amount that the roots can spread and amount of soil that it has around the roots. Okay, I'll just take one or two more questions. Yes, Swaroop, I should be using gloves. I didn't have them handy at home, so I'm sorry about that. Yes, muddy hands are a part of gardening. It was 19, 19, 19, NPK 19, 19, 19. The number is usually lower, 20, 20, 20, 19, 19, 19, 19, or even lesser than that. That's because there is also some other filler that will be there in that packet, which will come, which the nutrients will be mixed in. So the numbers won't be very high. Okay. So 20, 20, 20 is a balanced NPK to go by. Air plants and orchids need a lesser NPK, so you can Google them and you can find out the exact NPK that your particular plant needs. Okay. My hibiscus plant leaves became yellow. Okay, so yellowing leaves can be a form of deficiency, like I spoke about. If you have not fertilized, then you can fertilize your hibiscus, because it's a flowering plant. It will need more fertilizers, especially when it is flowering. And if that's not the issue, it can also be a reason of overwatering can be a reason for yellowing leaves, or some pest infestation. So the reasons can be many. You have to investigate and find out what is wrong with your plant. Okay, which type of pot is best for plants? Gurjot is asking me, ceramic, plastic or mud. Every pot, I would say, has its own benefits, and we will be doing a session soon on pots. I will talk about that in detail in that session. If there is salt in your soil where you're living, if it's close to the coastal, very close to a beach, or I'm not sure where, to the mangroves and all that, there are some plants that tolerate salt, but most plants will not like salt in the soil. So use, if you can get clay soil from somewhere, it's best to use that kind of soil. And online you will find a lot of mediums. There are pre-mixes available on Nursery Live. You can always go and buy those also. So you don't have to worry about mixing your soils. Vermicompost, I would say, Ruchi, is good for most plants. But there are some plants like the carnivorous plants that don't like a very nutrient-rich soil. So they prefer poor soil. So you don't make the soil very rich for these plants. So always research your plants. It's very important to know your plant and what it needs. If your indoor plants, Reena, if your indoor plants are growing slowly, what you can do is give them a little bit more light, because indoor there is always a lack of light. So if you give it more light, the plants will definitely grow faster. So the moment I move my ZZ plant into my balcony, I've seen the growth growing very fast. So in the rainy season, when there's a lot of humidity, I move my indoor plants to the balcony, and they benefit from that. Don't just leave your indoor plants indoor. They have to keep rotating. They need a little bit of sunlight. They need a little bit of humidity. So you have to keep rotating your plants. So if your plants are small, you have to fertilize them regularly, once a month at least. And if they are not getting enough light, give them more light. That is another reason, main reason why the leaves don't grow really big, when there is lack of light. If your lemon plant is not giving, Pratima is asking, my lemon plant is not giving fruits in spite of a lot of flowers. Maybe the pollination is not happening. You can probably try to pollinate it yourself. There are a lot of methods online. You can go and check them out. Okay. A lot of white ants in flower pots. You can use an organic method. It's called diatomaceous earth. You can use that powder. And it is extremely dehydrating for pests, and pests will not come to your plants. They will not survive in your pots, and it will do no harm to your plants. It's very safe and it's organic, so you can use that. Diatomaceous earth, it's called. There are special fertilizers for rose plants, liquid fertilizers. You can go online on Nursery Live and check them out. There are specific ones for that. Rose plants need a lot of fertilizers, so you have to fertilize them frequently. Okay, guys, I think I'm running out of time now. I cannot take any more questions. I apologize for that. I do hope you really enjoyed this session. I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.